Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead and to Tea Time with Jen. This is season 3, episode 2. Please forgive us. Our voices may come and go, and
it's
I'm hoping
unfiltered.
It is unfiltered
and uncut, and you're gonna get more of the crazy.
Well, and the only reason why we would edit anything in this one is if one of us goes into a horrible coughing fit that you just don't want to watch. But hopefully we have tea and honey and...
Because we're raised in barns.
He's losing his marbles. Anyway, so I have my peach tea and honey is what I'm drinking. We have both had crazy head colds that have lasted over a week. Mine turned into a sinus infection.
I started it all.
It's been nuts. So we're starting to come back alive. Usually I like to record them 1 to 2 to 3 weeks in advance. And this is the night before. So
bear with us.
Just bear with us. So today's topic is
driving her crazy.
Is why?
Just joking.
Why are we trying to go to the homesteading life? What is drawing us to the homesteading life?
So a good friend told me it starts with the cow.
Your good friend Beth Doherty?
Yes.
Yeah.
She said you could always start with a cow, and then you get chickens. Because you can always get milk from a cow. And then once you have a cow, the cow poops. And then you get chickens, and the chickens scratch the poop. Okay. You can't get chickens, and they won't be able to scratch no poop. So always start with a cow.
So before we go to your good friend Beth Doherty, why don't we talk about a little bit of our background and how we ended up where we are now.
Background.
So
going back to
where we've lived.
Oh.
Not like towns or anything necessarily, but
I come from a town named Santa Ana, Irvine. That's where I was born.
Yeah, you don't want to give all of your towns.
From there.
I need to stop you, even though we're live on this thing. We have security breaches that we don't want to give. Those are some security questions. So make sure you don't give all of the towns you've lived in that you would answer in a security question. That's all. Normally these things I would edit. Then
it all started on Southern California, and I moved my way up to Northern California to where I met you.
And you're a first generation American.
Yes, because my parents... Yes.
Came from Mexico.
They came from Mexico and they became citizens.
Yes. And so, culture-wise, you had 2 parents working.
First language Spanish, second language English.
Did you have chickens as a kid? Or was that later on?
That was later on.
Okay.
My grandparents had chickens.
Okay. So your grandparents had chickens. You have relatives that have a ranch.
Yes.
In Mexico.
Many.
And so you have experience but you didn't live that as a daily life.
No.
Was that anything that you ever really wanted to do?
Not really.
Okay. What was kind of your plan?
My plan?
Your PG plan?
My PG
plan? I don't know.
My PG plan.
I don't know whatever's going on in this man's mouth.
Well, I really didn't have a plan all the way up till I was an adult.
You got your HVAC. You went to HVAC school.
That was one of my biggest things that I did, is that I liked HVAC, and I pretty much lived for HVAC.
So you grew up, though, I mean, when I met you, you lived in a town surrounded by farmland all over the place. And that was never something that you were, like, drawn to.
So to me, I wasn't drawn to it because I didn't think much of it. Uh, there's always enough people to do that kind of work, and me mentality wise, I was like, the agricultural, the way things are grown in mass production doesn't.
Things have changed now.
That hasn't really never piqued my interest because uh, while I was in school, I was learned how mass production crops and not rotational crops can mess up the soil and mess up the ground. Um, Depends on how farmers do it or not.
Right.
I don't know if that was correct at the time or not. It's just, and then my parents did, have the little squash gardens and tomatoes, and that was a thing. And like, oh, that's cool.
Your parents now though have like a small property, a city property, well, I guess a suburb property, and they have fruit trees and chickens and.
Well, that's the thing is we've always had
plants like rosemary plugged in all over the place and different herbs plugged in.
I think that's just comes from being a Hispanic.
That's just part of culture.
Yes.
So
you have to have spices.
You have to have spices. So, and then we met in 2016, and got married in 2017. Is there anything else in that background that goes into the homesteading stuff that you need to talk about? Because then otherwise, I'll just tell mine.
Because, well, I didn't really, to me, store-bought food was just food. It never meant, I never thought of food tasting differently if you grow it yourself.
So, am I correct in saying food was just fuel?
Yes. Just keeps you...
like, if you didn't eat it, you'd get in trouble or you didn't feel good.
Correct. It was nothing that, oh, look at this wonderful thing or anything like that. It was just fuel. You have to eat to live, and that was pretty much it.
Okay.
I didn't learn more about it till you started digging into it. And then me hearing your blogs and videos in the background, and I was like,
yeah,
interesting.
Okay, so anything else to add?
That's it.
Okay. So for me, I grew up, my parents lived in the Bay Area in California, and they did not want to raise kids in the city. So they moved to the country, ish, for the most part, not city. And so I would say I was country suburbs. And we had a farm behind our house. I didn't have anything to do with it. We had apple trees, and we would toss the apples that fell on the ground over to the cows. So I saw them. I didn't have a whole lot to do with them. We did 4-H growing up. I did more, we had rabbits, but other than that, I did like cooking and photography and line dancing and Toastmasters and all of that kind of stuff. I did not do all of the like raising animals portion and selling them at the fair or anything like that. So,
you did quilts.
I did quilt too. Yep. So we did that. We did have the apple trees. We had grapevines. We had all kinds of stuff. But then we had a chemical plant catch fire and kind of have an explosion, have fire. And we evacuated for that. And my mom learned something very valuable during that time. We were like 3 houses away from where the line was drawn for the evacuation. And she called and talked to somebody at the health department and found out, like, got some details and stuff. Like, there's nothing that scientifically says that the chemicals are stopping at that point. And things kind of changed a lot. We were younger at that point in time. And so things kind of changed at that point. We weren't allowed to eat the fruit off the trees anymore. We didn't drink the water out of the well. Now, we did shower in it, but we didn't drink out of the water from the faucet. And
Which is so sad. Because I remember those hot summers drinking out of the hose
and stuff. Yeah. And so we stopped being able to do all of that stuff because we weren't sure like what was there and what wasn't there, and the chemicals that were used and all of the things. It was a pretty big deal. So I grew up in the country. I was exposed to a lot of stuff, but I wasn't hands-on involved in a lot of stuff. And then through the formidable years, I wasn't able to, like, we weren't able to garden the same way. We weren't able, the stuff this we just didn't do. And we kind of stopped raising animals because the animals kept like randomly dying on the property, and I have a feeling it had to do with the chemical thing. So I grew up, there was also a lot of emotional and stressful things that were going on in the household, and we did a lot of eating out. We were busy a lot. We were traveling a lot. We were doing things a lot. And even though I learned how to cook, I didn't put a lot of that into practice in my later high school years. And so far, early on, I learned all kinds of stuff. And then I didn't value that as an important thing necessarily. My goal was getting a job, getting a place, like doing all of that being successful. And that term at that time had a very different meaning to me than it means now.
It means surviving and achieving goals.
Well, successful was about money and belongings then.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's different. It's about family and community wealth and spiritual wealth. It's very different. And so my priorities shifted. So I was very focused on trying to do my thing. I ended up becoming a single mom with 50-50 custody, working, really surviving, trying to live off of, like, I did not have enough money to survive, was living off of food banks. And I will tell you, food banks are amazing, but they are also, it's so sad, the things that could be a whole nother topic.
What she means about that is just, it's not healthy food. It's food that'll get you by, but it's not everything that's donated is 100% healthy.
Right, there's a lot of like pastries and pies and cakes and cookies and things like that, and not as much. There is produce, but usually it's like you have to eat it that day or it's done. Yeah. A lot of the dairy was expired, and it was just a different experience. So
we were grateful.
I was very grateful for the food banks. Yeah. And that's why I want to be careful in my wording with that, because I think it's important to know where we came from, to know where we are now and where we're headed. Yeah. So for that, I was a single mom for a long time, doing that, and I was in massive survival. I've talked about this kind of before. I went through a depression period. I was in survival mode. Food, again, to me, was I had to eat to live. I was having all kinds of health issues. I ended up on an all-liquid diet, and then was able to go to soft foods after that, and I did not do that well. I did not balance nutrition well. I started off doing it good, and then I didn't, and 2 years later, all of my dental work started falling out. My teeth started falling out, which made what I could eat even harder at that point. And I was living off of Mountain Dew and French fries to get me through 12 to 13, 14-hour work days in the summer, and mashed potatoes. So mashed potatoes came more later.
Yeah.
That's when you were around. So I was the epitome of the opposite of health. It was not good. And I ate because I had to eat. I did not. I mean, there was some food that was great, but most of the time, eating at the time hurt through those years because I had all the dental issues. And so anyway, we met and we started dating, and we got married. And in our first few years together, we were definitely learning. He didn't know how bland my cooking was right off the bat, but he loved me anyway. He knows how to flavor. Like, he has an incredible, even though he doesn't eat, he wasn't eating for like flavor satisfaction. This man has an incredible talent of balancing the sweetness to the acid, to the textures, all the things that balance out. Does it need salt? Does it need lemon juice? What does it need? He is like amazing at that. And so I've learned a ton from him in that. And being a new wife, I wanted to please my husband, and I wanted to learn how to cook. And so I really dug back into my roots of my childhood. And I mean, I got a ton of cookbooks, but then I started watching YouTube stuff. My aunt printed me out a bunch of recipes. And there was a lot of fun stuff, but learning how to make bread. Great. Well, then you eat a bunch of bread, right? Learning how to bake and do cookies and stuff. But again, that's all a bunch of carbs. It's not super healthy. We went through, early on, we were in a rough part where we were still using food banks, at that point together. And then after it was 2019 as I got introduced. I was already starting to get like, something's got to give here. Like I was having some stuff, but I wasn't sure what was going on with me. At that point, now I know more of what was going on with me. We just chalked it up to I couldn't eat a lot because of my teeth. I had by 2019, I had 9 teeth left. And they were all broken. And so most of that, I couldn't chew. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't eat. So we chalked a lot of my health stuff up to lack of nutrition. Now, he made me eat really good, like switching to 3 meals a day and trying to figure things out. And he was trying very hard to make sure I took care of myself. No more Mountain Dew and French fries. Staying hydrated, all those things. So
she
in
doesn't know how to hydrate.
2019,
even yet, right now,
I'm better.
She struggles with it.
In 2019, I knew that we needed something. I just didn't know why, and I didn't know what I was looking for. And I had started to build a pantry, and I've talked about that before. I didn't do a great pantry, but I started trying to do a bulk pantry. And I found Roots and Refuge. And this woman was very passionate about real food and growing it and where it's coming from and the importance of it and the community that she was connected in, and this homesteading life and this homesteading community became a different thing. Like, you can get things that you couldn't buy at the grocery store. The nutritional value, learning the nutritional value difference of something freshly picked and something that's been on a truck and sitting in the store for weeks or months or whatever, right? I started learning, and that knowledge started opening our eyes to going, oh, crud. And then you start learning about pesticides and additives and the dyes in the food and all the little secret words, how much sugar's in everything, and GMOs. And it's like almost like it is a rabbit hole.
It is.
I'm going to take a drink. You can talk for a second.
Rabbit hole. It's so bad. Because I shortly after that also I found out that I was type 2 diabetes, right? I had.
Kind of. We had COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then you got injured.
Mm-hmm.
And while you were injured, you found out that you had type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm. And then I went through a phase of finding out that everything has sugar.
Oh my gosh.
Even milk has sugar.
He would drink so much milk.
Well, I come from a family where we drink a lot of milk.
Right. And it's different. And the milk that you get from a cow, raw from a cow, is very different than the milk you buy at the store. And yeah, so our minds were blown by a lot of this stuff. But we weren't in a place where we could financially do something about it.
No.
In 2019, I ended up quitting my job and staying home, and it was just in time because in 2020, in January, well, she got sick at the end of 2019, but it was just like a flu thing, we thought. And then in January of 2020, my daughter got really sick. And she ended up down, and we were trying to figure out all the things on what could be. We still don't know exactly what it is. We have some ideas of what could have triggered a lot of this stuff, and we think it was mainly hormones. It's my opinion, but it kind of lasted for a long time, and then it just started correcting itself. And so, I don't know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
A little bit before that, though, Emily had an issue with gluten. And then she seemed to be okay with gluten. And then after 2020 and after your diabetes diagnosis, then she tried to go whole wheat and go on this health food diet, and cut out all the white breads and stuff and go whole wheat. And when she went whole wheat, like, she went down, and she went down fast. And then we started learning about genetically modified wheat, what's changed in wheat, what's different types of flour, fresh milled flour, why bodies react to gluten. Now, even further down the road, we have an idea that it's probably more of her hormones again that are stopping her from being able to have the gluten.
Yeah.
And so we got brought into all of this stuff, and now we have things that we know we need, but we can't afford. When your husband has type 2 diabetes, it has to be on medication at the time. He's not on medication now. He had to be on medication, and you're trying to cook the food, and you know you're poisoning him. Like, because you can't afford what it is that he needs. What is the cheapest thing to buy in the store? Pasta, bread, rice, like, all carbs. It is the cheapest thing to buy in the store. Right now, trying to go out there and buy vegetables that are not... Here we go, I'm getting amped up now. So buying vegetables that are not sprayed in pesticides, or buying meat that isn't chocked full of a bunch of hormones... It's like ridiculously expensive.
Or grown with just grain.
Grass?
No,
grain.
Grain. Because you don't like just grain.
Yeah, I don't.
Grown.
I do not like that. And then most of the time, like, how the living conditions of the animals and all the stuff, like, but it's hard. So back to that point, it's hard as a wife to go, I want to provide you something healthy, and you're trying hard to make something at home, and know that you cannot hit a point that you can afford to feed your husband something healthy that's going to keep him off of medication. Because food would fix it. That is one of the most difficult things as a wife that I had to deal with. Same thing, learning how to cook for my daughter and not have her writhing in pain. Like, trying to go through that few years of figuring things out for health for our family was insane.
I feel like we had to work together.
We did.
To figure it out. Because I would eat food, and me just checking my level would tell me what was bad and what was good.
Mm-hmm. What would
and
spike it?
I feel like that's the way we were able to gauge it as, oh, we can't have this because it's definitely spiked my sugars. Or like, oh, look, this didn't spike my sugars.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, so it's just finding what helped and what balanced. And eventually we found balsamic.
Dark balsamic vinegar.
And that definitely stops sugars from spiking.
We have bottles of it right here. We actually bought a bunch before we moved out here, so we had some for quite a while. That way, we didn't have to order it right off the bat. So figuring out what the foods were, and so forth. So what we realized is that we can either go to work and work hours on end and not be able to afford, have both of us work and not be able to afford the foods that are going to make us healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Or the eventual plan, it's not right now, we're talking like years down the road. The eventual plan is for one of us to work full-time and the other one to primarily work the land, grow food, raise animals. We would still be doing it together, but the overall goal is for that to happen. That way we can have nutrient-dense food that's not sprayed with poison on the table fresh. We know what's in it. I can control salt or sugar on what's added to it. We can have it preserved in the way that we like. I will tell you, since I got my teeth in I'm like pointing at my teeth like you don't know they're my teeth. 2021. No, 2020. No, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got my teeth in 2021, and from that moment on, we really fell in love with food.
Yes.
We learned that he didn't have a full button before, and we've learned that if you're satisfied and you really enjoy the flavor,
if the flavors are good, I'll be satisfied.
And he eats less. Whereas I feel better, but I also feel accomplished if the food is pretty and it tastes delicious. And so learning to marry textures and the visual side of things, the flavors, all of that, most of the time I prefer to eat at home when I've cooked or he's cooked than eating out at a restaurant.
Yeah. Which is funny because we would have those days where we would say, oh, let's have a cheat day, let's go out to eat.
We've been so good, let's go reward ourselves.
And then the food doesn't taste the same. I'm like, we would have just done this at home. We could have done 2 steaks and some veggies at home and it would have been better than this.
So, it's very true. So, for me, well, actually not for me, for us, I thought it was important we did this video together. Because a lot of people are going, well, you're the one on the videos. This is the life you want. What does your husband want? My husband wants to eat well and to be healthy. And we have no problem working hard for that goal. And I think that concept of we can both work full time, still not be able to afford all the good stuff, do the best we can though. It could be more processed. It's going to have more preservatives, whatever in it, right? Or one of us can stay home, one of us can work the land, one of us can grow the things. It's going to take more work. I will tell you, I don't think I've worked harder. I can't say that. I've had jobs where I've worked very, very hard. It depends on the day and the project. But I think it's a physical hard. It is physically hard and mentally hard sometimes to get up, go, okay, I need to plan this out. If you're cooking 3 meals a day from home, every meal, you're gardening, you're keeping up, that's a lot of dishes, okay? That's a lot of housework and cleaning the kitchen, doing laundry because you're washing more towels, you're doing more things. Things add up and things change, and it does create more work. It is hard. You're on your feet, standing in the same place. You're not walking around when you're in the kitchen all day. In the garden, like at the time we had an apartment garden, so I was in the GreenStalks. It was, it still was work, battling the landscapers, trying to keep the plants alive.
It's like they have vendettas.
Right. Even now, we're in a shared home. We are shared kitchen, and we're doing separate food, but shared kitchen. We have the garden. I'm working full time. Both of us are working full time, and still gardening, still recording videos, still trying to make homemade skincare as much as possible, homemade stuff. There's things we've laxed on. We eat out more now than we did in the last. We've ate out more times since May than we had in the last 3 years before that, I think.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And there's things that I've had to like go, okay, I need to put this on hold. I need to be realistic with myself and what I can and can't do. And he's had to have that talk with me. But for us, it is worth the goal to go to the homesteading life and to work harder for it and to work harder every day, because we know it's going to benefit us. It benefits our health by eating the good food. It benefits our bodies and our health by doing the work and being outside in the sun and our hands in the soil and having connection with the animals and knowing where things are coming from. It's also good for building community. That community is important. One of my goals is to be able to give back. So if we had extra produce and stuff, once we have property, one of my goals is to try to give back to people who are in need. Because I remember being that single mom and struggling and really needing that and not having good stuff on hand. I will tell you, I'm not going to go all political, but I am very excited to see what happens with Joel Saladin. He just announced that he got asked to have a position with the USDA and to be an advisory position to the secretaries. And I think that's amazing. I've been listening to his book, Folks That Ain't Normal, This Ain't Normal, and it is mind-blowing listening to him talk and put all the pieces together and the knowledge this man has and then the experience he has and actual like regenerative agriculture and permaculture, and he has good experience with it, and he's focused on health. And I think making America healthy again is so important, and it's something I'm so passionate about. And to be able, that's why we want to live this life. That's why we want to go into homesteading, is to be healthy again and to be able to do it and not be on medication, not be having to have a lack of vitamins because of we're not getting it from the foods that we would normally get it from. That's why everybody has to take vitamins, is because the food we eat is so vitamin depleted. It changes it.
It lacks everything.
And and I may have started this going down this rabbit hole, but this man's all on board. I was like, I want chickens and a garden, maybe some goats, but now I've learned goats are like the escape artists and all the things. And so after we went to Missouri, he's like been sold on the cow since we talked to Sean and Beth Doherty. And it's so funny.
Goats are good for clearing. But
the briars and things like that.
And once everything's clear, get rid of the goats. They're useless.
So, anyway, he wants a cow, but we both have different desires. No, we both have different things that we're looking forward to out of homesteading, and we both bring different talents to the table when it comes to homesteading.
Yeah, I think the end goal from what I want to be at the end goal is I want both of us to be working the land and survive off the land and just be self-dependent. Or what's the word?
Community dependent?
There you go. Community dependent.
Everybody talks about self-sufficiency, but you can't really be.
Have a community to where we can barter our own grown food for other food, or just trade and gift
skills and
grow skills and learn how to process food in general, total meats, just everything. Just so we can make ourselves healthier, and that's the end goal. Is also not just that. It's just having. I won't call it a legacy, even if our daughter doesn't.
This is not the life she wants to live.
Even though if she doesn't want to take it on, we could always, start it off for somebody else, and somebody else who might want to take on. Because at the end goal is I want, and I believe we both want everybody to be healthy. Yeah. And somebody has to start somewhere, and I believe God's calling us to do this for not just us, but for other people too.
Mm-hmm. I do too, and I think that I know that I have never been healthier than when we were eating really well.
Yeah.
And
you could tell the difference because we wouldn't break out as much. Our bodies just felt more energetic, more stronger, and not as drained.
Yep. So, that's why we're drawn to the homesteading life.
Yeah.
And I think that life takes a lot of intentionality. We want to slow down. We don't want to miss every day. We don't want to go. We don't want to work so we can live on the weekends. Mm-hmm. We want to live every day and work for that dream. And so, now a lot of this is dreams, right? Us being able to both stay home, things like that.
Way in the future,
but you could take those dreams and turn them into actionable goals. Yeah. So the first step was moving out of California and moving to Arkansas.
Yeah.
The second step is for us to get jobs here and to become established. Now the third step is going to be to buy a home. And we're doubling down and figuring that out.
One way or another, we'll
right?
figure it out.
And then from there, then we start that dream slowly. And we assess the land, and we do a small garden, and we start building the things that we both want while we're both working, you know? Yeah. And getting to the point, you can have chickens and work. You can have a garden and work. You can plant trees and asparagus and strawberries and work. And so being able to do all of that, maybe 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, whatever. We don't know how long it's going to be. Then maybe one of us, and we don't know who that's going to be for sure, but one of us can be able to stay home and do those things. And then maybe we can work on getting income built up to be able to have the other one be able to stay home. Because I don't want to stay home and be a trophy wife. I want to stay home and work. I want to cook. I want to create. I want to garden. I want to teach people to write the cookbooks and to craft things and to talk to people at events or have a farm stand.
Pretty
or
much build community.
Or go to farmers markets and do that kind of stuff. Yeah. I love that stuff. And so that's the goal, is to not work for the big guy, but work for us.
Big guy? Santa Claus?
Sure. Big guy Santa Claus. So, I think that's the big thing. Now, with all that being said, I will have to say, I am very thankful that we're in the process and in the steps that we're in. Mm-hmm. Because jumping in and doing anything like full force, it's really hard at first. And so doing things step by step, I think, is key for us to have longevity and be successful at it. To slowly work our bodies back up into it, to realize there's things that we're realizing now that we didn't realize how important some of those things were to us and to our bodies and how much it affected us. So there's things that we're re-implementing and redoing, and it's very interesting to me to see those things. So right now is also a learning. It's classroom time. And being able to put those things together and be ready for the future. I'm very thankful that I found the job that I found because I love it. I love my job. I love the people. I love all of that, which is great because that means I'm loving where I'm working when I'm earning money, but I'm also loving where I am when I'm off of work. And that is a huge blessing. And I feel like you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. We have both found niches in our community here where we're very thankful that when we're looking at buying, we're going, okay, so how far is it from work? Because that's what we need to. It's not like, oh, we'll go get another job. It's, we want to keep these jobs. Yeah. We like them. And so looking for that stuff and setting ourselves up for that, I think is important. So, do you have anything to add on why else we're homesteading?
No.
No? You're just tired? Oh, he needs to go to the bathroom. So we're going to end this. All right. So what? You can go. You could say sayonara to them, and then I'll sign out.
Sayonara.
Goodbye. Good night.
Oh wait, that's hello.
All right. Anyway, so he's gonna head out of here, and I am gonna finish this off.
Goodbye. But yes, we're both in it for the long haul, and we're in it for the health.
The health.
Yes, the health.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay. So, with that being said, you good? Okay. With that being said, I really want to encourage you, if you have a dream and something you're working towards, if it doesn't make sense to everyone around you, that's okay. Not everyone cares about the quality of the food. Not everybody cares about knowing where your animals come from and that they've lived a good life, but they're also not pumped full of stuff. Not everybody cares about being willing to work harder for what you've got, as long as it's better quality. And so we have gotten like, what the heck are you doing? Now we have a lot of people who are totally on board and supportive and excited. I have people who are like excited for us, but are like, I don't want to do that. I want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, you know? And so it's different. And everybody, I think we need people who want different things. And if you have a dream that you're going for, I'd look at why you believe that dream was put on your heart. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that God is calling us to homesteading. I know that He had us find roots and refuge when we did, because when I'm sitting there watching it as my daughter's sick, and I'm learning things as the world is falling apart, and I'm learning things as my husband gets injured and then ends up diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I'm learning things and I'm connecting dots, and I'm taking these things, these pieces of information and wisdom at the right time, and I'm plugging it in. So if you're in a classroom somewhere, or you're looking around going, I don't know exactly what's next, but I know this isn't quite it, then I encourage you to start connecting your dots, to start really looking around. I would say really pray about it, and figure out where you're being led to and why. I don't know exactly why we're being led to what we're doing. Like I said, like my husband said, our daughter's not going to take this over, I don't think. I mean, something may magically change and she may decide that this is what she wants to do. But at this point, this is not where she believes she's being led to. And to live this type of lifestyle. I mean, the girl gets itchy if she touches grass. So nature is not her thing. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll be one of her kids. Maybe it'll be somebody we meet. I don't know. But the biggest thing is that we're not only passing on health. It's not about just passing on land or what we work on. It's about passing on knowledge. It's about passing on healthy living. It's about passing on healthy mindsets, and to live with intention, and to take the talents that God has given us and to utilize them. There's a reason why I'm passionate. I'm not super passionate on a lot of subjects. This one I'm like crazy passionate on. And I mean, I have not been passionate on it for my whole life. So I know it's something that has been an eye-opener and has been given to me at the right time. And where it's going to lead, I don't know. So, but if you're in that place and you're trying to figure it out, I encourage you to utilize your classroom, utilize the things around you, and figure out the next step in front of you for working towards that dream. Break it down, make it a goal, little attainable goals to get to the big goal, and see what happens, because you never know. I'll tell you what, when my husband and I got married in 2017 and we met in 2016, this was nowhere on the radar. So we are on a ride together. I I knew I wanted this type of life before he knew that he wanted it. And that was one of my big things I prayed for is, God, when this is right and the right time and all the things, have it be. I didn't nag him. I didn't, it's have him want it, have him desire this, and have it be the plan, because he's the head of our household. And he did. And it's so funny because I'll hear him talking to people, and he'll be quoting Roots and Refuge or Justin Rhodes or Joel Salatin or Whispering Willow or whoever he's quoting, and he goes, who was it that said that? But isn't this what you do? And he's telling other people about it, and he's talking about it. And I'm like, when were you watching that? He goes, well, you are watching it, and I hear what you're watching. And so you don't know. So don't give up and figure things out. But that's why we're working towards what we're working towards, kind of where we started, where we came from, and how we got to wanting what we're wanting and working towards what we're working towards. So we're on the middle of the journey, and we thank you for joining us for this journey. And we will see you back here for the next video. Thank you for watching again.